What's good, everybody? Spry Lee Scott. Welcome to another edition of How Y'all Healing. We are live both on YouTube and Instagram, and I am so excited, y'all, to be here. First of all, let me just say to everybody who has been reaching out to us, all the text messages, the emails, the DMs, all that, just asking when How Y'all Healing is coming back. I want to say thank you for keeping us on our toes and just reaching out to us, letting us know that you all want to have us back. And we thought it would be really important to start this off in the month of May. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And it's so important for us to get our mental health straight. We're still in the midst, we don't even know. Are we in a pandemic? Whatever. But we are still in the midst of healing, and we want to just make sure that y'all are doing your best. And so, of course, we got How Y'all Healing, presented by Medicine for Melanin. If you are just joining us, please feel free to join our community. It's going across the bottom, medicineformelanin.com. Go there, give us your email, sign up for the newsletter, and see what is going on. Also, if you are on YouTube, please feel free to like and subscribe and share this video, as well as everybody on Facebook. What's up? Make sure y'all subscribe as well, and share this video. Tell your friends to come in, get this healing. I'm excited about our guest tonight, Elton Anderson. He is just an all around. His podcast. You know what? I'm gonna bring Elton in, and then we're gonna talk about what it is that he does and what he's doing. So let's bring Elton into the conversation. Elton, what's up?
Oh, Spry, I'm so happy to be here, brother.
Man, listen, this is all overdue, and I'm excited for you to join us here. So much to talk about, and I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to begin. But I think I'll start off with how I was introduced to you. And I shared a story with you maybe about, I think I shared this story with you, but I was on Instagram one night, and it was a late night, and you were at the time out in LA, and you and Jessica had this whole scene where I think she got her bag taken or something like that.
Oh, and her wallet stolen.
Yeah, her wallet was stolen, and it was just this whole night of it was like a sitcom, almost as if y'all planned it. And I just got so intrigued with the story of whether she was gonna get her wallet back, because y'all ended up seeing it again. But I was so intrigued by this that I ended up following you, and then of course you working in the industry at the time as a celebrity photographer, and me working in the industry as a celebrity fashion stylist, realized that we had some people in common. It was just on and on and on, but it wasn't until recently that we connected. So,
yes.
In
a much deeper way.
Yes, absolutely. It's like we had tried, but we'll talk about that later on. So let's start off with this podcast, man. I've never binged a podcast. I wanted to say binge watch, but I binge listened your podcast when you were maybe about 15 episodes in. And I think I tweeted or shared it on Instagram, and I was like, yo, this is a master class of pretty much getting your life together.
Yo.
Finding yourself. So let's talk about how all of this came about. So like I said, you started as a celebrity photographer. How did you go from celebrity photographer to Elton, this spiritual guru?
First of all, a spiritual guru. I'm trying to post our thing. I took a picture of us, first of all, and I want people to watch it live. So I'm like trying to get that together. But man, the story actually goes back a little bit further than that. But I'll tell it out of order.
Okay.
But no, honestly, it was all on a journey to find myself. I had spent most of my life kind of like everything I tried, everything I was interested in, mainly everything that I love. If I really love something, I'm gonna put my all into it. So whether that was track and field in high school, I pledged Alpha at FAMU. Uh, I got into a good job at Pfizer doing a 9 to 5 and excelled there. So everything that I kind of did was in alignment with who I was at the time.
Right.
Uh, but it wasn't until 2019 where I felt all the way out of alignment. And that was the moment that I wanted something more than what I had achieved in terms of photography or hosting a travel show or creating my dream life in Los Angeles. And that's what started the journey, man. And in the journey, the minute you tell the universe what you want, whether it's authenticity, whether it's love, whether it's just finding out who you really are, it will put you through the ringer, bro. I can tell you that much.
Right. And speaking of your journey, it wasn't just one of those things where you said, you know what, let me go and figure out what I want. You gave everything up.
Yes.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, man. So letting everything go. All right, I just posted it. Sorry. So letting everything go. Yo, I mean, we're gonna get real spiritual here. I can just say it. So I've never been a spiritual person. I never meditated. I'm 39 now. In 2019, I was 37. So up until that point, I had never meditated, never read like any spiritual books. Like the last book I had read was like Coldest Winter Ever or something like that. Just throwback stuff. And I was so attached to the ego or the 3D world. And it wasn't until I was filming my travel show called Lens of Culture, which was an amazing experience. But it was on the first episode where basically the camera came on and I felt the sense that I didn't know myself. I didn't know who I was. I didn't feel authentic. It just was a total awakening of like, something's not right here. Right. And from April until August was pretty much the shedding phase. So I just started shedding little things one by one. I started shedding like ideals that I had. So limiting beliefs, I started shedding those. I started shedding identities of who I thought I was. But I also started going a little bit darker. You know, I started leaning into drugs and sex a little bit more too. So it's like I'm learning these spiritual things, but I'm also exploring more, you know, not so spiritual things. And
well, I mean, it's all relative, but
yeah, fair, all relative. But things that those things were more of an escape though, regardless of whether it was more creating distance between myself and who I really was. So I won't necessarily label them as negative or dark, but they were things that increased the gap between my authenticity. And so that was April to August. And then I would say July, I decided that I was going to just leave. I was like, I'm going to let everything go. And it was scary. I was at Essence Fest and it just came over me that I needed to leave the country, and for no reason other than my intuition.
Right. And so you left the country, but things didn't go as planned because you ended up getting really dying.
Yeah, ultimately dying, man. Yeah, ultimately, I decided to leave in August. So I was living in Los Angeles at the time. I gave away everything I owned. Literally, like I had a stylist. So I had all these amazing clothes. I had my dream apartment in downtown LA. I had everything, but I can't. Thinking back, it was really, I thought I was going insane because, you know, like you look weird. And I would say the thing that I let go that was the hardest was a lot of my friendships. Like a lot of my closest friendships just ended at once. and it was out of nowhere, and it was devastating. I don't think people really can comprehend how that feels for like 20 or 30-year friendships to end. So that was a huge loss of my life. And then right after, I decided to go to Brazil, and 6 days later, I got diagnosed into malaria.
Wow.
So the reason I got malaria was because we filmed our last show in August in Ghana. So it was the year of the return in 2019, a very powerful time period for African Americans and people that want to go back to our roots.
Right.
But I decided not to take my malaria pills, and so it was my fault. I'm not going to hold it against anybody else. But I'm also Liberian, and I've also been to 18 countries in Africa. So I had this ego, like, I don't need to take these malaria pills, but I want everybody to please take your malaria pills. Don't play with that. But the malaria was the biggest lesson on so many levels for me to have. And if people don't know about malaria, when we talk about healing, it is a parasite. And it's a parasite that attaches to your red blood cells. And your red blood cells are everywhere in your body. So your eyes, your skin, your heart, your liver, and everything started breaking down. It takes about 8 to 10 days for the parasites to populate and multiply. But when they multiply, you just lose everything. So I was immediately just felt like I was going to die. And I called my mother, and I called my mom, and I never needed my mom for anything. I was just like, Mom, I think I'm about to die. Do you know this woman hopped on a plane?
No, Mama gonna show
up. She hopped on the plane that day, and my mom's a Leo like you. So I think the best parent to have is a Leo parent. I don't care what, because
shout out to all the Leos, right?
All the Leos. Listen, a Leo mama or daddy is the best thing you will ever have. And she hopped on that plane that night. Like, I called her maybe 9:00 a.m. She was on the plane at 11, and didn't speak no Portuguese, anything. And that was honestly for me, even beyond the dying, even beyond I couldn't see, I couldn't walk, I was in a wheelchair, decreased liver function. Even beyond all that, what really needed to be healed was my heart. I had so many things that I hid my entire life. I had hid the fact that I was gay. I had hid behind my insecurities. I had tried to succeed my way out of healing. So, a lot of times these guys, they think that money or jewelry or women or promiscuity will heal the traumas, but they never really heal them. They just mask them. They just cover them up. And this was the first time that I had an opportunity to not have anything, and I had to just be there fighting for my life. And my mother, the woman that brought me into this world, was right there. And it was a moment where I really cried because, hey, Lena. And it was a moment where I really cried because they didn't have a bed for my mother. So she had 2 chairs. It was just 2 regular chairs. And she slept on those 2 chairs for 6 days straight, and did not leave my side. And it made me cry. I broke down. I'm finally over the crying now, but it was so heartwarming because I was like, that's what love is.
Yeah.
Love is sacrifice. Huh? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a humbling experience. And I'm a firm believer in nothing happens to us. That everything happens for us. And this is a moment that happened for you because you had to go and break down. You talk about pledging, and I know one of the things about pledging is that they break you down to build you back up. And same here, where you had to get broken down to get built back up.
It was the breaking down of so many things, But the biggest thing was that it broke down the wall that I had up in my heart. And at that moment, seeing my mom make that sacrifice and seeing that mom show me unconditional love, like I was like, oh, that's what love is. I have been spending so much time as a gay man trying to hide my femininity that I didn't have any connection to the heart space.
Wow.
And so watching my mom in that moment, it like cracked me open in a way that I'm so grateful for. And more than anything, it showed me how to like finally love and start the journey of loving myself.
So I know when your mom came and she helped you because you're at this low point, but then you get better. And I don't know about your mama, but my mama would have been like, all right, baby, you healed. Now, bring your butt back to the United States. So where do you go from that place to, you know, moving throughout the world? Because you were a nomad for a bit.
Yeah, well, to be fair, my mama did snatch me up out of Brazil. And the best thing about Brazil, I hate to say it like this, but it was the best fortune of my life to get sick in Brazil because they have one of the best infectious disease hospitals in all of South America. And I was in the hospital 6 days. We did not pay one penny.
Wow.
Not one. We were leaving. We had 3 meals a day, full-time coverage, a bed, a room. And we were leaving. And my mom said, wait, so how much do we owe? And they were like, nothing. They gave us drugs, free, everything. So the healing process from that was physical. So I did go back to the States. And for 3 weeks, I was weak. I lost 20 pounds and I was super weak. Couldn't slept like close to 16 hours a day for like a couple of weeks. But the physical healing was taking its own process, but I wasn't done with the spiritual healing at all. I hadn't even started that journey. So I decided that mentally, and my intuition talked to me again and said, there's something for you abroad. So I went back to Brazil.
Okay. And then where do you go from there? Because again, this is this journey that you're going on. And do you follow your intuition? Because you didn't stay in Brazil. So do you follow your intuition? Do you listen to somebody else saying this is where I need to go?
No, it was all intuition, man. You know, so I'm a Pisces. We're talking about Leos, and I'm a Pisces, and I've always been the person to follow my heart. Again, I'm a very heart-centered person, and I can follow my heart to follow something, and I also know when to let something go. So just how I had my dream job at one point as a pharmaceutical sales rep, I knew it was time to let it go. And then I started doing weddings, and I knew it was time to let go of weddings. And then just like photography, I was like, it's time to let go. And so I followed my heart to so many different amazing countries during that time. I stayed with a good friend in Brazil. Then I actually went back to Ghana for New Year's. Took my malaria pills this time. Traveled around Brazil. And this is all 2019, end of 2019, leading into 2020. So when 2020 started, I left Brazil, went to Ghana, traveled around Southeast Asia. So that's Bali, Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar. Then I wanted to spend all of February of 2020 in Africa. I said, I want to be in Africa again. I want to celebrate Black History Month there. So I traveled to Namibia, Rwanda, Zambia, and South Africa alone. And it was honestly a dark night of the soul, man. It was one of these things where I would just go to these countries and I would literally just walk. I would go to Rwanda and just walk and just walk and just see people and interact, because I have this belief that turned out to be true, that the more that I just follow intuition, the more the people, environment, circumstances that I needed and the lessons that I needed to learn would show up for me. They weren't in a book. They weren't in a therapy. They weren't in talking to your friends. They were all in the universe, and the universe showed out.
But you have a way of, I feel like you have a way of manifesting things in a sense, because you or which is manifestation, where you make up your mind that you're going to do something and you do it and it happens. So you talk about if we go back to when you were a teenager, and you talk about on your going back to your podcast, and y'all make sure y'all check out his podcast, Detroit Chopra, because he will give you will get a full insight. You'll get full insight to his life and where he's been. But you talk about, as a teenager, how you didn't feel good. You felt ugly, right?
Yeah.
And so you said, all right, you know what? I'm going to make this person who I want to be. And that's when you started joining the track team, and you worked on yourself, and doing all of that. But you created this lifestyle for you, and then you created this whole dream job. And then when you said, hey, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. And you moved, and you went to this career as a photographer and a celebrity photographer. But then giving that up, is it any surprise that you would create this new experience for yourself?
It's a huge surprise. It's a huge surprise because it's a matter of going, and my story. You did the research. You really did listen. But no, it's this big paradigm shift. And I think in the beginning, I was following my mind. I was in the program, and it was like, go to high school, go to college, succeed, get good grades, yada, yada, yada. We all know that. Get a good job, buy a house, blah, blah, blah. So I literally did all those things. Got a full ride to FAMU, used my mind, got a academic scholarship, got a good job, bought my first house at 24. So I'm thinking, I'm following my mind. I'm like, okay, boom, here we go. And then
Black American,
I was lit. And then something happened, and I started following my heart. So that's where photography came from. I picked up my first camera at 24, 25, and got a passport too. So I got my first camera and passport at 25. And so I started taking pictures, and I would just travel. I hadn't even left the country yet, but I would just go to like Philly or DC and visit friends and just take pictures. And I really fell into it, and I said, oh, I love this. So I started following my heart to like my passion. And it led me to watching my first celebrity that I shot was actually, I didn't even live in LA at the time. I was visiting, and I was watching this show called Awkward Black Girl that starred this girl named Issa Rae.
Right.
And I used to watch all her YouTube videos. I'm like, I love her. And I reached out, and I was like, I just want to shoot you because I really like what you do. And that was my first time that I reached out to a pre-celebrity, but I just saw something in her. And clearly that was 2011. And as you can see, 10 years later, she is a force. But I saw something in her. I could always see it. And everybody did. So it's not like I'm just this visionary. But just taking that moment to like give her something because she had given so much to the greater community and allow Black people to see themselves, especially Black women, it was just amazing for me. So she was like my first breakout into it. And so after that, I decided to travel and move to LA and start from scratch with $500. And the thing that I want everybody to know is like, when you follow your heart, then there's really no limits on you. When you're really operating from the heart space, the universe will literally give you everything you want. Now,
and I think another thing that I feel is important as well is the other times, so the other moments when you decided you wanted to do photography, when you decided you wanted to run the track, be on a track team, you wanted to buy a house, these are things that you knew. And a lot of times when we know what we want, and I had this conversation today with someone, where I was saying I was unsure about something, and he said sometimes being unsure is the best thing.
Yeah.
Because when we're sure about something, when we know about something, then there's limits to what we see for ourselves and what we believe. But when we don't know, there's so much more out there. There's no limit. And we
Yeah.
can open up this world for ourselves. And so and I feel like that's the difference between you as a photographer, as a working as a pharmaceutical rep, all of that, because you knew. But then going out into the world as a nomad, not only did you not know what you was going to do, you didn't know where you were going to eat tomorrow, where you was going to sleep.
Didn't know who I was going to meet. Didn't have friends.
Right.
But I want to touch on that though, because there is, when you say I want to turn that into I thought I knew. That's a big difference, because I look at my journey as a journey from the heart, the mind, and ultimately the soul. I mean, the mind, the heart, and ultimately the soul. So when I was doing all those things in corporate America and pledging and going to college and all that, that was what I think I wanted. I thought I wanted those things because that's what the society tells you. It tells you you want those things, so you think you want them. And you do it, and some people last 45 years and retire at 65 and wish they could have lived a different timeline. And for me, that's when my heart came out. And so I went from doing what I thought I wanted to what I wanted, which was the photography. And you got to think about it. I started photography in 2008. So I left a six-figure job to take pictures. That's what everybody was saying. Like, what you taking pictures? This is before Instagram. This is before anything. So today, somebody get a camera, get on Instagram, get 100,000 followers, and be good. Back then, there was no outlet. Like, I was on Facebook, and I was writing on a blog, and I remember again thinking I was crazy. But now, when I go from what I think I want to what I actually want, now following this soul journey, this is what I need. So it's no more want. This is what I need to do. This is the service and the gift that I need to share with the world. And so it causes you, in a sense, to come outside of yourself. I never wanted to start a podcast. I never wanted to be in front of the camera, but this is what I was called to do. And when you follow the calling, it's so much more, because scary isn't even a word. It's like you already know, man. You already know.
Yeah,
it's like
a lot of you know what it is. So when you talked about the photographer, and it's like you left a six-figure job to go and take pictures, and you got everybody saying, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this? What is this is no career." So they're questioning it, right? Same thing with me when I decided I wanted to be a stylist, and again before Instagram and all of that, people were like, "What's a stylist? How you gonna make money? Like you gonna shop for a living? That don't make sense, right?" But then I feel like when I turned in and started listening to myself and really following the calling, it wasn't the outside that was asking the questions. It was me. I would look in the mirror and be like, "Yo, dude, what are you doing? Like, why are we here? Why are we leading meditations?"
Yeah, it's like to go to, yeah. How was it, and was the calling for you just loud? It gets louder and louder and louder.
It does. It does. I mean, and it's still a journey. But one of the things that I also realize is that the biggest part of our calling is working on our own healing, especially when you're a healer. And in turn, what you're doing is you're sharing your healing with the world. And that's what because a lot of times, so and I go back to when I had my son, right? And one
Okay.
of the things I did with my son is I gave him, we said that we would give him permission to ask questions. But in
Okay.
doing so, what we were actually doing is giving ourselves permission to ask questions. And we fell into that. And so what you're doing and what I see you doing is as you're healing yourself, that's when you're really that's the true part of who you are is what's connecting to other people. You know,
It changes your
the other
frequency.
part, it it was like this wall that you had built up, you had created, but you were blocking people out. And so now, as we chip down these, walls, these bricks, chip away at these bricks, what we're doing is not only are we allowing ourselves to be seen, but we're also allowing other people to see us. And when other people see us, they see them, a mirror image, and they like, yo, like you healing? So the same way that we gave my son permission to ask questions, and I take on that permission, is the same way they look at you and they see you healing, and they're like, yo, if he can do it, I can do it. And it even goes back to your job as a photographer. And what's happening is you're changing your perspective now, and so you're bringing people behind the camera, and they're able to see the world from the way you're seeing it. But you had to go through everything that you went through in order to see it the way you did.
It's interesting you bring up the photography too, because it's all about a frequency. It's all about, especially like this journey to authenticity. It's really based on self love. It is everything. You can't be a healer until you find self love. You can't even discover that you're a healer until you find self love, because there's a lot of people that are healers, but they're in relationships with narcissists, or they're bogged down by a job that they think they need to have, or they're tied to money or to this persona that is so limiting. It could be a huge persona, but it's so limiting to even what some people's power could be beyond what they do for a living. And when you go from making a living to doing a calling, your whole frequency changes. Like everything in my world has changed. Like the way, especially being here in Bali. So if your followers don't know, I'm here in Bali right now. I ended up in Bali, Indonesia after all that traveling. And what I found out here in Bali is that the veil between the spiritual world and the physical world is so thin. It's so thin. So this is a very like, it's almost like a laboratory for your soul in a sense, because you heal deeper, you manifest faster. Like the manifestations here are like insane. You will think of somebody and they will literally walk into the restaurant where you're sitting there. You're like, what's happening? And
I need you to think of me at breakfast tomorrow morning. So
come
I can
on, on the
so I
plane.
can walk through the door in Bali.
Yeah, but and so now to be here and surrounded by so many people that are healers, it's almost like getting activated. Because I look at myself a little bit differently. I think there's some people that are activators, and then there's some people that are like connectors. And I'm more of a connector. Like I can connect with anybody, and I did that through photography. Like I connect with them. I I can get on your same frequency. I can help raise your frequency. I do those things naturally. Then there's people like you, an actual healer, who I think is more like an activator. So just your presence literally helps heal people. And that is so powerful, and that's what I'm around. So when a connector like me links up with an activator like you, that's when like magic happens. There's just so much magic in that moment, and that's what I've been experiencing every day
And
here in
this is
Bali.
right. And this is something that you're doing on a daily basis. Like this is what you kind of walk out the door and experience.
Yeah, and so now my purpose is coming to me in the form of I need to share these experiences, but not the experience, not the, oh, we did this and this happened and this happened and da 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 da. No, I'm sharing the lessons that I learned from the experiences. So that's what you hear a lot on my podcast. That's what you see a lot on my YouTube channel. That's what you read a lot on my Instagram, is that these are the lessons. So I have a whole experience that I won't even tell y'all about, but I will let you know the lesson that I got from that. And the lessons are the things that are universal. And the lessons are the things that help heal people.
Wow. And speaking of your podcast, one of the topics on your podcast was the art of letting go. And I don't know, I'm trying to think if that was the one, if it was the one of art, if it was the art of letting go, or if it was the one on forgiveness. But you talked about having to or losing 4 of your best friendships. And what brought that up is hearing you now talk about the energies that you're around and the people that you're around and the feeling that you get from there. But you have to go through, again, going back to the malaria, had to be broken down. And so you lost 4 of your best friends, or 4 of your best friendships. And can you look back at that and understand now, like, how it's connected to who and where you are now?
Oh, big time. I mean, I said it in the podcast, and ever since I did that podcast, it was almost like the freedom that I needed. Ever since I did that episode, it's been the freedom. And what I want to let everybody know is that gratitude is a cheat code to everything. Gratitude is honestly a cheat code to any timeline. So if you're in the present moment, right, and you have gratitude for now, then you're automatically raising your vibration. If it doesn't matter where you are, if you're in the projects, you have a home. So I'm grateful for this. If you're running out of breath, like after running, you can breathe. You got legs. Like, you have to find the gratitude in everything in the present. Now, when you apply gratitude to the future, that's when you start manifesting. So when you want love and you start being grateful for love, love will come to you. When you want financial gains, when you want knowledge, when you want different things, and you're grateful for them in this current moment, then you affect the future. You ultimately create the future through gratitude, through the heart space. And then it heals the past. So when you have gratitude for losing your 4 closest friends, you go back to the past, you change the past, and have gratitude for them and say, thank you for removing yourself from my life. Thank you for that situation that caused me pain, because I wouldn't be here right now. So gratitude is really a cheat code for anything, honestly.
All right, yeah, because you talked about gratitude being the next level of forgiveness.
Yeah.
Like, looking at a situation that you're in where forgiveness could come up, and it's not so much of forgiving, but again, saying, I'm grateful for the situation I'm in. And
and you're grateful for the situation that happened. Like, that's the thing. People, they always say hindsight is 2020, but it was devastating. I cannot explain or stress, or I cried on that podcast episode. I cannot explain how devastating the loss of those friendships were. Can't put into words, because when I call you my friend, it is such a deep and important thing in my life. And the reasons why it ended, everybody has their version of the story. However, I think it was on a higher plane. I had to look to a higher position of why this happened. And I had to look honestly into my soul. So remember I said I went from mind, heart to soul. And I believe that we're all souls on this human experience. And a lot of times, everybody talks about finding their soulmate, and you feel like, oh, where have you been all my life? But there's also people that you make soul contracts with soul ties to that are meant to hurt you. I really believe that on a
Right.
soul level, me and those four people made a contract like, okay, Elton, we're going to be your friends for 20, 30 years, but for you to elevate into your true purpose, for you to elevate and to connect with who you are, we're going to have to hurt you. And we're going to have it's like the sands in the time
And
in
that's
a time
and
glass.
that
It just
that that's something that I've learned too, and also understanding that those people are a part of your tribe as well. Because the goal for us coming to into our beings as humans is to grow spiritually. And so each opportunity that we visit, we're looking to grow into being a better version of ourselves. And so,
yeah.
like he said, so we make these contracts before we come here with people, and it's like, look, you know what? I'm gonna be your friend for 20 years, and then I'm gonna cut you so deep that's gonna send you into the deepest depression of your life. But understanding that depression is a part of our human experience to
That pain is like it is just like a rocket ship to raising your consciousness. That's why so many people that have near death experiences, so many people that get to their lowest, and we talked about that in the Art of Letting Go episode with Maya. With that's my girl. That's a good episode. But we talk about how it's like a slingshot. You go so low, it just pulls you down. It's like a bow and arrow. You just go so low, and you can only gain more velocity the lower you go. And as soon as that slingshot is gone, then you skyrocket into your purpose, you skyrocket into your higher self, because that's the goal. We need to get to our higher selves. We all have these purposes. We all have an opportunity to do the things that we are meant to do here.
right.
And when you are walking in your purpose, when you let go of this facade, when you let go of this mask, when you let go of these ideas and these thoughts that the world has programmed you with, and really be your true self, it's like the world is so endless. And so like the friends I have now, like you, like my buddy O'Neil that just joined in, like the people I
What's up,
meet here in
O'Neal?
Bali, the friendships, I can't even, are you kidding me? Like our first conversation, our first real conversation, Spry, didn't I cry? I think I cried or something.
But you cry
I
all the
probably
time.
cried.
You can't
I
get
probably
music cry,
cried.
but
But it's just like the deepness, the depth of these friendships that I can have with people I've only known for 20 days
right.
trumps anything I have in those 20-year friendships.
Mhm.
So when you talk about gratitude, the way I'm grateful for you, the way I'm grateful for O'Neil, the way I'm grateful for the people that are in my life now, it
But I
bless
think
everybody who left my life. Thank you.
uh, uh,
Bless
uh, no problem, man.
you.
I think another part of that though is when you talk about the art of letting go, right? Um, Understanding when we get into these relationships, friendships, commitments, whatever you want to call it, understand that it's an opportunity. I mean, or rather, it may be here. We may be here for a week. It may be here for a month. It may be here for a year. But appreciating, going back to the gratitude and finding gratitude in the moment, as opposed to looking for gratitude for the future or anything else. So
Yeah.
understand it. And I think our first conversation, what, 4 hours or so, and but in that conversation, I was okay with not ever talking to again. And what I mean by that is that understand
Mm-hmm.
that whatever I needed, if I never spoke to you again, or this, if with all of my friends that I have right now, all of my family, if I never speak to them again, and not to say I'm not gonna be sad, understanding that if I don't, everything that I was supposed to get from these relationships, I've already gotten.
Yes.
And that's where the gratitude is. And I'm grateful for that.
Yes. It just makes. No, go ahead. No, I'm just agreeing.
And I just feel like, and so I think the art of letting go, that, and this is something that's just popping up. The art of the actual art is letting go before you actually attach.
Yeah, because attachment is where all the pain is. And I want to tell this really quick story about letting go because it is what I learned. It was my biggest birthday gift. So I'm a Pisces, and one girl, Vanessa, she said, one thing about a Pisces, we gonna cry. And that is the truest thing ever. And I'm gonna tell the story really quick, but long story short, I went to India. So I traveled around India in March, and something told me to go to this place called Goa, India. It is my favorite place in the world. When India, they're going through a rough time right now, but when they open up, everybody go. But I went to Goa. It's the beach part of India, and I went on my birthday. So my birthday is March 5th. I go, I walk around, I wake up in the morning of my birthday, I cry, I meditate, I cry, I journal, I'm crying for 4 hours, and I'm just like, when will this pain leave? I walk into a coffee shop and there's one seat left, and I order a smoothie. I start talking to this white guy who I sit next to. So we're just chit-chatting. He's from New York. He had just did this huge healing thing called a Vipassana, and he's telling me his story. He started traveling in September, and I'm like, wow, bro, that is such an amazing story. And he was like, what about you? And I was like, same kind of thing. I started traveling in September. So we're both solo traveling since September. We're both in the States. We both come to this coffee shop on March 5th. And and then he asked me, like, what else are you doing here? I was like, well, today is my birthday. And I think I told you a story before, but I told him today's my birthday. Y'all, this man had the exact same birthday as me. His birthday was March 5th too. We met on March 5th in a coffee shop, sat right next to each other. And if that is not the universe talking, I don't know what is. Like, nobody's going to ever argue with me about the universe, none of that. And he told me something. Oh, Tara did a Vipassana. And one thing he told me, because we ended up traveling for 4 days together because we were like, there's a reason for us to meet. And I told him the story of my friends, and I said, I cannot let them go. I was like, these people just live rent-free in my head. I cannot let them go. And he told me the most powerful thing. He said, it's not about letting them go, Elton. They're already gone. It's about letting go of that version of yourself that needed them for validation. And when he told me that, I wanted to jump out of the car because I was like, bitch, that's why I was like, that is why I met you. Like, the universe needed me. The universe is when I tell you that universe is so tricky. And if anybody wants to change their life, follow your intuition. Just surrender. That is my key word for this year, 2021, is complete surrender. And so when I surrendered to just figuring out who I was, because we got one life, figure that out. I was given the best birthday gift. Let me tell you something. I have done birthday trips with 25 people to Morocco, and we went viral, and Brazil, and all these places. But that sentence was the best birthday gift of my entire existence.
You can't go to the department store. Or...
You can. I ain't never gonna do nothing else. So I just really want to tell that quick story because it is the more you let go, the more you let in. And so when I landed back here in Bali, I just got back here in March. I decided that I'm only going to do things if I was only going to do something if it fit two circumstances. It either needed to excite me or it needed to bring me peace. Mm-hmm. And so I don't do anything if it doesn't excite me or bring me peace. So the reason I'm on here now, it's exciting to talk to you. But if I didn't feel excited, I'd be like, no, I'm good.
I'm telling you now, you starting a lot of fights in my family because I heard that on your podcast. My friends now when they invite me somewhere, I'm like, wait, am I excited to go? Is it gonna bring me peace?
Don't do it.
I'm gonna stay home.
This
But
this is
it makes such perfect sense because then you end up putting so much time and energy and effort in doing something that you don't want to do, and you're frustrated, and the universe will give you all the signs saying, "Yo, like, don't go." You know, like, still, all right, you ran out of gas. Don't go. You still
Spry.
in your heart to go. But then when you do things that you love and that, like you said, that excite you and that you want to do, it's easy.
Spry, we get so used to betraying ourselves. Like that is what we do as humans. We work jobs that we hate. We stay in relationships that we should have been ended. We deal with toxic parents and family members because they're family. Stop betraying yourself. Like literally stop betraying yourself. Don't do things that you do not want to do. Because the more you do things that you don't want to do, then you start getting madder and madder at yourself. And you know, everybody talks about this being a hot boy summer, hot girl summer. This is honestly a self-love summer. If you focus on self-love and you focus on the things that move your soul and bring you peace, then you will literally create boundaries. And the boundaries are meant to not hurt anybody else. But anybody who is offended by your boundary, anybody that's like, oh, da 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 da, has anything wrong against your boundary, that is a number one sign that they have been taking advantage of the lack of boundaries that you've had. Right. So start setting these boundaries, and the people that leave will literally leave. But the people that truly love you are like, oh, I know you needed a week just to not to talk to anybody. I know you needed a solo trip this weekend. I know you need all those things. And that will literally weed out anybody that does not need to be in your life, because the people that truly love you will respect your boundaries and be in alignment with your own self-love.
And that's something that I had to look at recently as far as setting boundaries. And I'm just one of those persons. I've made up my mind a long time ago. I'm not going to argue with people. I'm not going to go back and forth with people, things like that. I'm not going to argue with you. We're not going to have no argument. I'm not going to call you out your name. You ain't going to call me out mine. But you still are presented. I've still been presented with opportunities to kind of like come out of character, which I choose not to. But then, like you said, I allow that to live free in my head for so long. You know, so even though I didn't act out, you know, I'm still mad. I'm still carrying this around. I'm still thinking about it. I'm still thinking about what I would say had I been arguing. And what helped me stop that was to set up boundaries. So again, you still going to go through the motions. You still going to feel the feels, but the boundaries, I feel like, stops it quicker in a sense, and it gives you a sense of control. And that's really what it's about, because you end up losing this control of it's like a snowball effect, where you start thinking of one thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing you know, you driving up to somebody's house, you know, ready to fight. And so you put up those boundaries, and you say, here, you know what, I'm gonna stop here, and the snowball hits the wall, and then you continue on with your healing.
And you fight, and you fighting yourself. Like, I used to be in so much drama when I lived in LA. I used to be in gossiping. I used to be in all that foolishness. And oh, what's the tea? Oh, blah blah blah. And people being petty. Like, petty is so funny. I don't, even when people be petty, I'm like, I hate that. That energy is so toxic. It's just so much. I invited so much toxicity into my life that it turned me toxic. And I just can't go, like, I literally can't go back to that energy. And you already know that we are all energy. And so how you treat yourself, how you love yourself literally creates the world you live in. Like, look at, like, everybody that's watching this, look at your outer world. This is literally a representation of how you feel on the inside. So if you're if you're working a job that you don't like, that's the betrayal that you did to yourself. If you if you don't see abundance, if you see just lack and scarcity, I really want people. That's the main thing I talk about on my channel is abundance. I started the Abundance Academy, and that's to help people figure out ways to attract more abundance into their lives. And it's all about your perspective. It's all about creating this mindset where you see the abundance in everything and you don't see the lack. You don't see the competition. You're not competing with nobody. You're not comparing yourself to nobody. You're not looking at the news and Real Housewives and everything else that is just meant to control you and to bring your vibe down. This is high vibe season, man, and I really want people to focus on just look at what's authentic to you. Authenticity will literally shape your whole life. Like the more authentic you are, you'll just attract everybody that you want in your life.
Right. So let's talk about this Abundance Academy and attracting this energy, because you
Yeah.
talk about we talk about again how energy, excuse me, is money, and you started this 52-week Abundance Academy, and it when I because I joined the community, and I thought I was just gonna come up there and get like stock tips and learn how to navigate the stock market, but it's more inspiration and just feel good than anything. And you talk about how again, like that's what you want to get yourself to, not so much focus on the money, but focus
Yeah.
on the feeling of abundance.
Yes, and it is so just talking about that quickly, just talking about that really quick is that during my time uh during my time that 2020 when I was traveling and healing and trying to figure myself out, what happened was I had decided to get into stocks. Something told me to get into stocks back in 2016. None of my friends was invested, nobody I knew invested, nobody taught me about anything, but I'm like, I gotta have this money working because I know I'm not gonna be a photographer all my life. I just knew it. And I started investing in stocks. And best decision I ever made because in 2020, the stock market went on a bull market and I made over like $130,000 just from my money working. Like my money literally just increased $130,000. And I was like, yo, it was a huge mindset shift because I'm like, wait, money can work when I'm not. And I wanted to scream from the mountaintops, like, yo, invest. Everybody, like a lot of black people specifically, just have no financial knowledge. They live their lives in credit card debt, student loan debt, house poor, keeping up with the Joneses, all these things. And I just wanted people to break those shackles and create generational wealth. And so now we're having more education within Abundance Academy. And I have different guests on every week on the podcast to talk about ways you can bring more abundance into your
But you
life.
talk about that on one of your episodes, Healing Money Wounds, and you
Uh-huh.
talk about how we don't have that generational wealth, and
Yes.
the healing that we need as a community from that. What are some of the ways that you feel that we can heal from these money wounds?
So the number one way you can heal from the money wounds is to recognize them. So it is a lot of times, I don't know about you, but back in the day, when I would have like a wild weekend or spend too much money, I won't look at my bank account that next Monday. I would never check my credit score. Uh, you know what I'm saying? I would just ignore it. I would just put on blinders. And I know so many people like everybody be looking at their student loan debt like it's above me now. God got it. Like
Right.
God can take care of that. And it is just something we do. It is just how we are. And I think if you identify it and you get into what I really believe in is community. Because if one person admits like, yo, I made a mistake. So the Healing Money Wounds episode was one of my dear friends, Barony. and she was so honest with the mistakes she had made. She tried to buy her self-esteem through clothes and cars. She had lost huge amounts of money trying to buy love. And she was 45 years old and facing no retirement. And so that honesty, it activated so many people because so many people's stories were similar and they could never say it out loud. And so it's just honestly, I really think people should join the Abundance Academy because we have so many new things coming up. But it's just a forum to talk about these things because they just are not spoken about. So I think that's the first step. And then after that, you realize that your relationship with money is very tied to your relationship with yourself because money isn't the goal. Money isn't a thing. Money is literally energy. Money is an exchange. And so when you figure out that you don't necessarily need to work hard for money, there's other ways to make yourself abundant and be in the vibration of the money that you want to attract. Create different channels where you're working from a heart-centered space. You told me yourself, you were just following your heart, like, okay, I'm gonna heal. And then people all of a sudden was like, can you come and do this meditation in Morocco? Can you come and I'll fly you? Don't worry about it. But I want you to do this, lead this group of 200 people. That happened to you. And it was out of nowhere. You were just being yourself. And so when you switch your mindset, and I'll say this because I think we're at an hour, but in the United States, it is a very masculine energy. So you sit there and it's win versus lose, every man for himself, crabs in a barrel, claw your way to the top. It's just this very capitalistic masculine energy in in LA. And it's a scarcity mindset. We're all scarce. We're all holding on to money and we're scared to put it into the stock market. We're scared to do anything with it because we have this scarcity mindset. Here in Bali, it's a very feminine. That's why they call it Mama Bali. So what they do here is we figure out ways to work from our heart center, ways to focus on spreading self-love and adding value and service to the lives of others. And what you do is you start creating these different channels. So my podcast is a channel. My YouTube channel is a channel. My newsletter is a channel. And these different channels, as I'm helping people, then what happens is as I'm putting out more good and positive energy, then I have no doubt that the money will flow through these different channels. And where I was hustling and trading my time for money, now I'm being my authentic self and the money just flows to me.
All right. Well, speaking of channels, we are at an hour. We're a little over an hour, and we're gonna play a game. But before we play this game, I want you to share how people can get in touch with you. What channels? If you're watching this recording on Facebook, somewhere below we're gonna have the link to all of his social media. But how can people get in contact with you?
So people can find me on these internet streets. I have two names. I have Elton Anderson Jr. and then I have my alter ego, very similar to Sasha Fierce and Beyonce. And so my alter ego is Detroit Chopra. And on there I talk about my spiritual stuff.
It's right up,
there
right.
it is.
Scrolling across the screen.
Yeah, there you go. So on Detroit Chopra, you can find all those things. You can also join the Abundance Academy. Abundance Academy is such a great space. It is more than just money and stocks. You'll learn that too, but you also learn about meditations and how to build a heart center business. And we're really building the community from a place of help because I love how the people that follow and are part of it, they tell me what they want. They say, Elton, I need help on manifesting. I need help on healing. I need help on all these things. And if I don't have the answers, I can talk to somebody like Spry or other thought leaders in the space that can help give you the answers. So just a beautiful forum, a beautiful place. And
yeah, at the Abundance Academy offering meditation. And I'm just going to give you my $8 and you let me know when that turns into $100.
Hey. We're
so
doing
listen, before we go, I want to play a game. There's a movie that was out a while ago with Eddie Murphy where he ran out of words I don't know if y'all remember that movie or whatever. I'm dating myself, but anyway, I want to give you 20 words to work with. You can only have 20 words. I'm gonna say 5 words, and you can say one word. It's a word association, but you say one word, one phrase, but you only have 20 words to use. Once you run out of words, that's it. The game is over. You lose.
Okay.
All right. So, and we're gonna talk about um things with you. So, first word is travel. What comes to mind?
Peace.
All right. Abundance.
Love.
Self-care.
Necessary.
Forgiveness.
Heal.
And gratitude.
Life.
All right, cool. You got 15. You did it with 5 words, so you got 15 words left. I will Venmo you $15, $1 per word. No, I'm joking. You just made $100,000. You Venmo me.
Hey.
15. But thank you again, Elton, for joining us. Thank you for being our first guest on this season of How Y'all Healing. And please make sure y'all go and follow our guests. And then also, if you are new to Medicine for Melanin, please go to and join our community at medicineformelanin.com. And you can also find us on all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Medicine for Melanin. If you are watching this live of this recording on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and share this video. Again, thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Elton.
Spry, thank you so much, brother.
Say what?
Huh? I said thank you so much for this platform. Thank you so much for your friendship, your words, everything. Because this is we've had some amazing conversations.
I'm gonna see you at Valley in the morning. Think of me.
You better manifest it.
You better manifest me over there. All right, man. Thank you again. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Peace out.
Thank you.